Hi there, this is Ranjit, and in this video, I'll be doing a FAQ video with this Realme 2 smartphone. And guys, as you can see, I have two of them. This was actually the review unit. I did my initial testing with this one. I used this one with the GeoSim, but I also got this retail unit of this Realme 2. And from the past 4 days, I've been actually using this with my primary SIM. So overall, you could say about 7 days of usage, but with my primary SIM for the last 4 days. And actually, I'm using it in the dual 4G mode with my Airtel 4G and even the GeoSim. And yes, it does have dual 4G simultaneous, what many of you were asking. But let me quickly get to the question. This is by Lightning Tech. Here, Anji, just wanted to ask you, is the Realme 2 a worthy upgrade over the Realme 1? What are your thoughts about the upcoming Realme 2 Pro? Regarding the Realme 2 Pro, only thing we know is that they're going to launch it by the end of September. I've heard rumors that the event will be around 27th or 28th of September. Officially, I didn't get the invite till now, so let's see what they bring. Moving to, do you think that the Realme 2 is an upgrade over the Realme 1? This is the Realme 1. No, if you already have the Realme 1, there is no point of you to getting this Realme 2, in my frank opinion. Yes, it has a fingerprint scanner, but I don't think so it's an upgrade, I would say. So don't upgrade if you already have the Realme 1. In fact, if you watch my other video that I posted about my thoughts about Poco and Realme, I clearly said that they should have named this one as the Realme 1 Lite instead of the Realme 2. So if you really want an upgrade, just wait for the Pro. Let's see what they do, what chipset they bring with the Realme 2 Pro, and at what price. Let's move to the next one. This is by Prem. He's asking, is the naming of the device as Realme 2 apt as the Realme 1? With the Snapdragon 450 is somewhat downgrade in terms of specification, but Snapdragon 450 is also a capable device, running everything smooth and keeping everything under control. Yes, Snapdragon 450 SoC, it's a good chipset, and it does support some new features. For example, it's optimized for dual camera compared to the Snapdragon 625. The ISP, that is the image signaling processor, is usually improved. And yes, the Snapdragon 450 SoC also has dual 4G VoLTE, and I did test it and it works. But as I mentioned earlier, yes, the naming convention of this device is not correct. They shouldn't have called it the Realme 2, because technically speaking, the processor used on the Realme 1 is vastly superior. Yes, you get the fingerprint scanner on this Realme 2 and the dual camera setup, which was not there on the Realme 1. But I'm hoping the Realme 2 Pro, what they will be launching soon by the end of the month, should have included the dual camera and also fingerprint, and hopefully they go with something of a powerful, more powerful processor. This is by Anur Rang. He's asking, Color OS features are as amazing or not? I don't like Color OS. That's the UI that they are using on this phone, and I hope they change that in the future, because now the Realme team has said that they are a separate entity from Oppo, but they're still using this UI interface that is known as Color OS, which is used on Oppo devices. Maybe in the future they might change, but as of now it's still Color OS, and frankly speaking, I don't like it. It's not like it's laggy or something. I didn't notice any lag, but some of the functionality is very weird, and I don't like the menu layouts, and it also hides some stuff like battery stats and stuff. For example, I'm getting great battery life on this one, over 2 days of battery life, but the native UI actually hides all that stuff. It doesn't give you real values of screen on time, so I'm not able to show you. So I'm not a big fan of Color OS, frankly. They should move out to a more leaner UI, like what I would say OnePlus did in the future, but will they do it or not? I have no idea. This is by Subham. He's asking, how much time does it take to the Realme to charge? Does it support dual 4G VoLTE? Why Realme smartphone do not have the restart option? This is very interesting regarding the restart option. I did notice it, and yes, when you hit the power button, I also didn't notice it. You just have the shutdown option. You don't have the restart option. So again, that's silly Color OS UI bug. So yeah, it doesn't have that. Regarding dual 4G VoLTE, yes, it does it. Currently, I'm using it on Airtel 4G and with Jio VoLTE, and both, as you can see, both of them are having that 4G signal. So yes, you can use 4G on dual SIM properly with this. By default, it won't work. You have to go inside the settings and enable it. But yes, true dual 4G VoLTE is there on this one. And regarding time taken to charge, I didn't time it exactly, but when it was around 17% charge, I left it, and I would say it takes slightly over 2 hours to completely charge it. So not the quickest in charging, but again the battery is big, and typical user, even if you're sort of a heavy user, I would say easily it should give you about 1.5 days of battery life. And for me, I would say it was giving almost over 2 days of battery life. So the battery life is actually really good. Don't have to worry about it. But again, no super quick charging on the same. Let's move to the next one. This is by Melvin. The Realme 2 is a great phone in the price range, but it's not a true upgrade from the Realme 1. I'm getting this question from quite a few. A lot of people waiting for the Realme 2 Pro. What are your expectations regarding the phone? Did you see the phone? Frankly speaking, I haven't seen the Realme 2 Pro phone, and I don't have it now. Only thing I know is that the launch event is sometime end of September. So hopefully around that time frame, I should get access to the phone. As of now, I don't know its specs and anything, the pricing. So when I know about that, and when the embargo lifts, and if I get the device, I'll definitely cover it. This is by Anurag. He's asking, any options available for hiding the notch? If not, then can we expect Realme to bring this option through a OTA update? Yes, this is very surprising. Most phones that have a notch, this also has the notch, has the option of disabling the notch, hiding the notch, I would say, within software. But as of now, with the current build, I didn't find that option. So hiding the notch option is not there. Maybe yes, they can bring it with the software. It's very easy to do that. Will they do it or not? I'm not very sure. This is by Yashwant. How well the Realme 2 camera performs in low light? Is it better than the Realme 1? I would say you won't find a huge difference in terms of camera performance if we compare with the Realme 1. And if we compare it with the budget phones under rupees 10,000, I would say the camera performance is actually really good in terms of camera, even in artificial lighting conditions. But again, if you start comparing it with much more higher spec phones that cost around 25,000 or so, then you would be disappointed. But again, if we take and compare with other phones, for example, we have the many Xiaomi devices under 10,000. It outperforms its camera by a huge margin, even in artificial lighting conditions. Let's move to the next one. This is by Saeed. How much would you rate the Realme 2 camera, both front and rear, out of 100? This is a very difficult question to ask. I would say the camera performance is actually really good. I'm talking about the Realme 2 9,000 rupees device, and if you take that price point, I would say the camera performance is about 90 out of 10. Excellent camera, I would say, and beats a lot of smartphones. I think so. The only smartphone that might beat this one is this Infinix Android One smartphone, but this one is priced around 10,000 rupees. I have to really test it because the camera even on this one was actually good. But again, I have to do a side-by-side comparison. Definitely it beats the Xiaomi Redmi 5 that is for 9,000. That also comes with Snapdragon 450, and even the Redmi Note 5 that is for about 10,000. Definitely the camera of this Realme 2 beats that also. In fact, the front-facing camera is actually pretty good on this Realme 2. But one thing that I'm annoyed with this Realme 2 is that many of the phones, even in this budget range, with the front-facing camera, they give that LED flash, front-firing LED flash. That is actually not present. So yeah, in very low lighting conditions, you got to be careful, because I've seen some phones even under 10,000 rupees that have that front-facing flash. This one doesn't have that. Anyways, let's move to the next one. This is by Vishwasoni. What about the UI? Does it lag? No, the ColorOS UI does not lag, and I've used this device now for quite a bit of time. So in terms of general usage, you won't find any lagginess. But I did notice one lag, particularly onto the Twitter app. Sometimes I noticed when I was scrolling, I noticed some lag at times, not every time, but at times. But in general UI operations, I haven't noticed any lag, and I've used it now for almost 4 days with my primary son. Yes, it's not as fast as flagship phones, but again, it was not a deal breaker or apps were lagging too much or stuff. So in that way, the ColorOS optimization is good. It doesn't give that UI lag. This is by Meenaj. He's asking, he says he's giving his experience. So then that's why I took this question. Even I'm using the same phone. It has a bugs of signal. It automatically switches between 2G after having a good network of 4G, rather than after 1 minute again it switches to 4G all over again. They made this dual step process of swiping, very bad. Yeah, regarding the swipe notifications, I also hate it, and this is again because of the color OS UI. When you get a notification, for example, I get this notification, you have to swipe it. If you have a lot of notifications, it's not like stock Android. Individually, if you have a lot of notifications, if you just tap and everything opens and you have to swipe one by one. So that I don't like the notification, how you have to dismiss it. It's a pain. And regarding your network stuff, I would say this is the retail unit of the Realme 2. What you should do is, I didn't have a problem. I'm testing this one with Airtel 4G SIM and even a Jio SIM in Hyderabad, and I'm not having any problems. It's always staying in 4G. But the moment I got this phone, when I was setting it up, I went into the software update option, I checked it, and there was an update. And so I did run that update, and it was very surprising that the update didn't prompt automatically. So if you're using this phone, go into the software update option and manually check if you have the update and apply that update, because in that update the show note, it said that some stabilization issues or something were there. So maybe that would fix. But personally in Hyderabad, I've been using this with Airtel and Jio, and I'm not having that jumping issue of 2G or whatever, even on the Airtel network. So yeah, that's what it is. This is by Chalu. He's asking, Realme 1 or Realme 2 best for gaming? I would say for hardcore gaming, I would say the Realme 1 would be better. In fact, I've already posted a gaming review with this Realme 2 just last week. So check out that video. And if you have seen that video, it ran all the heavy games also fine, apart from only PUBG. PUBG, it ran fine, but it was at the lower setting. So the Realme 1 will do slightly better, I would say, with very heavy games. But one thing that I've noticed with the Realme 1 when I was testing it, with heavy games, definitely the Realme 1 heats up a lot more compared to this Realme 2. The Realme 2, even after about 30 minutes of gaming, didn't feel hot. But the Realme 1, though, as it's having a more powerful processor, even after about 10 minutes of gaming, the back tends to get a lot more warmer compared to this one. So in terms of gaming, to sum it up, it will play most of the games fine, apart from some very, very heavy games. Again, check out the gaming review that I posted last week for more info. This is by Shivam. How is the day-to-day performance? Is there any RAM issue? No. The day-to-day performance was fine with this smartphone, I would say. And RAM management for the most part is also fine, no issues. But one thing, as I told you, I've been actually using two devices, and I felt I applied the new software update on this one. And after that software update, I felt that the RAM management has become slightly more aggressive. It was not that aggressive before the update. So they can slightly improve the RAM management. But again, RAM management is not an issue. What I'm noticing after this latest update is that when I don't use an app for more than 40 minutes, it tries to actually kill that app. So sometimes when I'm actually reloading that app, I won't say 30 minutes, it's slightly less than 1 hour. I didn't time it exactly. But yeah, it tries to kill that app to get even more better battery life. But again, in general usage, if you're just jumping between apps here and there, using it regularly, then again, no issues with RAM management. And yes, even Truecaller, using with this one, as I was using it with my primary SIM, and it was keeping Truecaller in memory. It was not booting it out. So yeah, RAM management is decent, I would say. But yeah, certainly can be improved a little bit. This is by Mohit. How is the camera compared to the Redmi Note 5 Pro? How is the audio output via the headphone jack, and does it support True Dual 4G VoLTE? True Dual 4G VoLTE, it obviously supports. It has the audio output via the headphone jack is actually good. In fact, when you use headphones with this one, go in the audio settings. It has a separate pane for audio setting, and there you can tweak, you can switch on that mode, and then it really enhances the audio. And frankly speaking, I didn't compare it with the Redmi Note 5 Pro because the pricing gap is very different. It's a different segment, I would say, the Redmi Note 5 Pro. I would say the Redmi Note 5 Pro, if you want to compare it with the Realme 1, not this Realme 2. This one I would recommend the 9,000 rupees variant, whereas the Realme 2 Pro, Redmi Note 5 Pro is what, at around 15 or 16,000. So not a fair comparison. I didn't compare the camera with the Redmi Note 5 Pro. This is by Palash. He's asking, it has the Snapdragon 450 SoC, which is an old one. Would it be optimal and smoother and a long experience? Guys, Snapdragon 450 SoC is not a very old processor. In fact, the Snapdragon 625 SoC is a very old processor. The Snapdragon 625 was launched in February of 2017, whereas the Snapdragon 450 SoC was launched launched in, if I recall, June or July of 2017. So it's not a very old processor, and that's why it has those advanced features like dual 4G VoLTE, etc. That is simply not present on the Snapdragon 625. So definitely it's not a very old chipset, Snapdragon 450 SoC. Some people are just creating false information about Snapdragon 450 SoC, and in fact the Snapdragon 450 SoC has a much improved, ISP, that is the image signaling processor for dual camera setup. That's actually not present on the Snapdragon 625. So definitely I would say it's not a very old processor. Let's move to the next one. This is by Gabru. He's asking, would you call it the best phone under rupees 9,000? This is a very tough one to answer. Let's look at some of the smartphones available around this 9,000 price point. For example, if we take into account the Snapdragon 450 SoC, Xiaomi had launched the Redmi, Redmi 5 at rupees 9,000, that has the Snapdragon 450 SoC. And if I compare it with that one, definitely this is much better and blows the camera out of the water, because the camera on the Redmi 5 was simply not that good. Even if we compare it with the Redmi Note 5, the camera on this one is definitely much better. So yes, I would say it is overall a good phone at rupees 9,000 price point. The only thing I don't like is the color OS UI. I'm not a big fan of it. You definitely get used to it. It is functional. I don't like it. Let's move to the next one. This is by Mahanto. Camera among the competitors, where does it stand? Again, I've just answered it. I would say it definitely beats the Redmi 5 Xiaomi devices that are under rupees 10,000. But yeah, this Infinix one might beat it. I have to do a side-by-side testing. But definitely for 9,000 rupees, the camera is the highlighting point of this one. The camera performance is actually really good, and even the front-facing camera performance is good. They didn't skimp on the front-facing camera. They gave all the features. This is by Harsh. Is the Snapdragon 450 support dual VoLTE? I mean, the Redmi 5 and other devices with Snapdragon 450 dual VoLTE is not supported, but in RealMe 2 it's supporting. How is that possible? Yes, this one does support dual VoLTE, and simultaneous dual 4G support is there on this device. And you're right, the Redmi 5 also has the Snapdragon 450 SoC, but that one officially doesn't support those features. And guys, though the Snapdragon 450 chipset supports that functionality, it is upon the manufacturer to enable that functionality. For example, let me give you an idea of a car. For example, you have a car, let's say a Maruti car, and you have different variants like LXI, VXI. Obviously it's the same car, but the VXI variant will get more features, like let's say if the seat might have height adjustment and everything, which the base variant might not have. So that's the same thing even with these SoCs. These SoCs support everything, but it's the manufacturers that have to pay license for all these features. Looks like Xiaomi skimped on that licensing fee, whereas these Realme guys actually paid Qualcomm that extra licensing fee, hence they got those features. Anyways, let's move to the next one. This is by Sayan. And again, guys, this dual VoLTE, simultaneous everything, it's just not the licensing fees. The chipset also actually has to support that feature. So only then, by paying the licensing fee, they can enable it. For example, the Snapdragon 625 SoC simply doesn't support that feature by hardware. So even if they want to implement it by paying a license fee, you can't. So yeah, just wanted to make that very clear. Let's move to the next one. This is by Siam. Do the color OS show battery stats and screen on time? What is the idle drain in the Realme 2? The idle drain is very low on the Realme 2. Hence, even with actually my normal usage, I was easily getting about 2 days of battery life. So idle drain is very well optimized. But sadly, the color OS simply doesn't give you detailed battery stats like the screen on time, etc. That's what I hate about it. And even I posted about it publicly via my Twitter account. So yeah, again, that limitation of color OS is there. This is by Varga. He's asking, how's the sound output? I use the Realme 1. It's really good. What's the battery charging time? Regarding the sound output from the speaker, I would say I feel the Realme 1 has a better and louder speaker. The speaker, again, both of them are having the single speaker. But definitely, I would say the Realme 1 is louder in the speaker compared to the Realme 2. Even at the max volume, I would say, it's not like it's not audible or anything. Even at max volume, I felt that the volume level could have been slightly higher. But from the headphone jack, as I mentioned earlier, it's fine. And battery charging time, I didn't time it exactly, I would say, but slightly over 2 hours it will take you to charge this one. And this is by Aditya. Does it support 5 GHz Wi-Fi? No, 5 GHz Wi-Fi is not present. And generally in budget-oriented phones, you don't find 5 GHz Wi-Fi. But it has the regular 2.4 GHz Wi-Fi. This is the last one. This is by Rutrich. He's asking, which is the best, Realme 1 or 2? Which one would you recommend? 2 has the fingerprint sensor, the only highlighting part in the device. Definitely, I would say if your budget is up to 11,000, you can get the Realme 1. They have actually discontinued the Realme 1 at 9,000. So the base variant of the Realme 1 is now as 11,000. So definitely, if you have a budget of 11,000, I would say, personally recommend the Realme 1 over the Realme 2 if you can live without the fingerprint scanner. But at 9,000 rupees, yes, even this Realme 2 is not a bad device. So guys, these were the common questions that I was getting regarding this Realme 2 smartphone. And I hope this FAQ guide is helpful to you guys. So, but still, if you have any other questions regarding this device, do let me know in the comment section below. I'll be more than happy to answer them. And guys, so that's it for now for this video. And if you guys are still not subscribed to my YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching. This is Ranjit, and I hope to see you in my next video. Take care, guys.